Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Nerdrunners. Joining me today, as usual, is my partner in crime, Mark.
Hello, and couldn't be more apt since we're very anarchic this week.
I know, because it's great that my favourite two factions have now got a large expansion.
I know, I've fraternised with criminals and tried to hack for the love of hacking, but I always come back to Anarch. It's fun to be disruptive.
There's nothing more fun than just running in and destroying everything and occasionally taking something out of the trash.
Yes.
We're getting ahead of ourselves. How are you? How are things?
I'm very good, thank you. Yes. Been playing obviously quite a bit of the Anarch stuff from Order and Chaos. Other than that, it's been fairly quiet on my end. Just busy with work as usual and trying to fit in Netrunner when I can, and still mostly spending my tube journeys using NetDeck to build crazy ideas for new Netrunner techs.
It's amazing how quickly the time passes when you're putting together something that might work.
Yeah, when you have this crazy idea, it's like, yeah, maybe if I well, I mean, to be honest, that's what I did with my Max deck. It was like, I wonder if I could use Data Leak Reversal to deck the Corp before I deck myself.
Well, according to some of the messages you sent me in the week, you were marginally successful for that. So, shall we just start by talking about that?
Yes, I was completely successful. I played 2 games with my new Max deck, which utilised Account Siphon and Joshua B to give myself tags, and then Data Leak Reversal to just go to town on the Corp, and I decked both Corps. I played against, who was it? It was a HB Core Identity was one of the games.
Oh yeah.
Then Blue Sun was the other identity. So yeah, I managed to deck both of those Corps. And yeah, the basic premise of the deck is to kind of just be running interference. If you can try and use Eta, the only programs in it are Eta, Keyhole, and Parasite. And I added Parasite just to kind of get rid of any small ice that would otherwise just be an issue to get past repeatedly, like the Quandaries and Enigmas of this world. And yeah, so it's just kind of eat through stuff, use the replacement effect for Account Siphon, or even Wanton Destruction. And I've also caught myself starting saying like 1 ton and realizing that's not quite the correct pronunciation. So then I saved myself by going Destruction.
Or you could just say 1 ton of destruction.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to teach myself now. Yeah. So yeah, siphoning the Corp and then Wanton Destruction to destroy their hand. And yeah, there's Levy in there to get everything. In the first game I played with it, Levy was the final card I drew into. Luckily, it didn't get. I had like my Deja Vus and same old things left to get it back if needs be. But it was the last card in my stack to draw. And then in the second game I played, the first card I trashed was Levy. And oh my god, like I got towards the end of the game, I realised that all 3 of my same old things were trashed. 2 of my 3 Deja Vus were trashed, and my Levy was trashed. I had 7 cards left to draw. I was like, this can't end well. So luckily, I used the 2 I've had worse that I'd been hanging on to for the entire game in my hand to draw 6 cards. Still didn't have the Deja Vu. Used my 3rd click to draw up the Deja Vu. 4th click to Levy, and just everything was back. I was like, oh, thank God for that. But no, it was, yeah, I'm having so much fun playing Max, and my favourite move that I text you this because I had to. Just, this is what I envisioned the deck doing, and I'm really happy I got it to work. I was already tagged using Joshua B. But they'd already trashed my Data Leak Reversal, so I drew into another one. I ran their HQ with Eta. Then I played Data Leak Reversal. I'd already Joshua B, so I had another click pending. So I had 5 clicks. I've used 2 of them already. I then used 2 amped ups, one after each other. Luckily, the brain damage I suffered from the first amped up didn't trash my second amped up, or that'd be very sad. And then I just looked at the Corp and said, okay, can you mill 8 cards from the top of R&D, please?
And I imagine their face is just like, oh my god.
I know, because at that point, the thinking behind the deck was, try and get in, trash their hand with Wanton Destruction, trash their R&D with Keyhole. If I get locked out, because I only have Eta to get in, and Parasites, so if they start really stacking their eyes like both of them did in the end, I was like, I'm screwed now. And then it's the whole idea is just be tagged, and then just Data Leak Reversals, just keep getting them through their deck as fast as possible. But obviously, Corps are smart to this now and will trash DLR as quickly as possible. So Amped Up's in there to give me as many extra trashes. And to get... It's just unfortunate I had to run HQ and then play Data Leak Reversal, because I'd have just loved to just straight away do the Amped Ups.
Yeah.
But no, it
10
worked
cards.
like a charm. 10 cards. But I got 8, which is still fantastic. And then the Corp player at the end of the game told me I trashed 12 points worth of agendas in those 8 cards. Which was... I was really happy.
It's just upsetting.
I know. I wish I could... They had an Enigma over their R&D for most of the game, and it was obviously keeping me out because, again, I only have Eta, and with Parasite, it's like, if I play that, then they're just going to ice again, and yeah, I'm needing to add Hades Shard into the deck, I think, just to, after I've done that crazy milling, just get the cards with Hades Shard, I think. But
and with the amount of cards that you're going through with Max, it's entirely possible that you'll be able to get hold of that Hades Shard.
Yeah, or at the very least, Deja Vu it back.
Exactly.
Or even use it trashes, then Deja Vu it back again. And I've got to say, honestly, and this really blew my mind as a long-time Anarch player. At one point in that game, I was sitting on 22 credits, which has never happened. I've gone an entire evening of Netrunner and never had a gross total of 22 credits as an Anarch. But yeah, Day Job is just so good, and I'm really looking forward to using it in my Crazy Noise virus deck when I finally add in Hive Mind and Progenitor and Virus Breeding Ground, because that deck basically lives off doing nothing for turns, just so Incubator stacks up and stuff like that. So, but no, Day Job is just so good, and as well, if you've got Joshua B, you can Day Job and do something else. Which I just, yeah, it's so good just to get 10, net 8 credits, and
yeah,
and especially because you don't really need to do like stuff every turn. Just being able to pressure the Corp and suddenly have all that money is just brilliant. And I've also got Armitage in the deck as well, just in case I need extra money. But I rarely used it. Between Day Job and Sure Gamble, I used pretty much all the money I needed for that deck.
I think Day Job's becoming more and more vilified as a card. I like it. I mean, when you look at it, paying 3 clicks for... Well, actually, no, paying 4 clicks overall for 10 credits doesn't seem worth it, but just being able to gain 10 credits is insane. And it instantly means the Corp's like, oh, shit. I've really got to deal with this for next turn.
Yeah. The only thing that I haven't enjoyed so much, and I'm sure we'll get onto the proper cards breakdown for Anox in a second, but yeah, I didn't think I've Had Worse worked really well in the deck that I built, because you're trashing 2, drawing 1 every turn anyway, so to suddenly draw 3, I don't know. I
think it will work better in a more run-heavy deck.
Yeah.
You know, if you're just saying, oh, well, just trash the cards anyway, you're not really using it to its fullest potential.
That's true. Oh, I did have the court player stop me when I drew 3 cards with I've Had Worse, because they'd never read the first 3 words of draw 3 cards. They just assumed it was when it was net or meat damage I got 3 cards. So I was like, oh, you can actually use it to draw 3? That card's amazing!
Well, yeah. I mean, it is, it isn't. I think it's conditional. Because I'm with you. Like, if you're just doing a power through max deck, you're not going to need to draw more cards because you're already flowing through your deck at a rate of knots. Yeah.
Absolutely, but I think Max as well, because I considered adding more than the 45 that she is into the deck. Because as well, if you just play a 45 card Max deck, that means your final final start of turn, you trash the last card that's in your stack. Yeah. Whereas if you play 47, you still trash 2, draw 1. So I think I may up Max to 47. I think 50 might be too many. But yeah, maybe at least 47 I think is probably a good number to run in Max.
I mean, the temptation is to just throw in all the cards. Just have like a 90 card deck.
Yeah. I did wonder, like, but then I thought, oh, you'll be diluting it further and further to the cards that you want to draw.
True.
And you'll be losing even more stuff probably, and I don't know. It'd be interesting to see like a huge Max deck that just kind of runs all the Anarch cards.
all the recursion as well.
And all the recursion, yeah. Great, so yeah, shall we have a bit of a breakdown of the Anarch side then? I've talked a little bit about what I've been playing. You've unfortunately not had the time to kind of be playing too much.
No, I've been busy doing work things that you know about that I can't really talk about.
Yes.
But I'm hopefully going to be playing in the next week or so. It kind of got pushed aside. In fact, everything did.
Yeah.
Now I'm back though. I'm back renewed. There's a whole bunch of Wayland that I want to deal with, so that is going to be my job for the next few weeks.
Yes.
Just throwing together some kind of Wayland nonsense deck, or slowly amending my Near Earth Hub horrible deck. We shall see. We'll see what happens. But I'm keen to use like space ice and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, that's for next time. Let's talk about Anarch.
Let's do the Anarch thing this episode then.
Seeing as you've been playing, would you like to lead us in?
Cool. I think we'll probably just kind of talk per section of cards. So if we start with the events, I guess.
Yep.
Just so good. Like I want to be running pretty much all of these events in my deck. To be honest, I put most of them in the deck.
It's just
Max.
Talking about the cutlery. I mean, the cutlery really changes the way you look at things.
When
during a run.
Used a knife, and as the Corp player said, "You've just stabbed a little boy in the face," when I double clicked through their Eli.
Good. Fuck Eli. I hate that kid.
The cutlery is fantastic. I tried playing it out of Edward Kim with a dedicated kind of eater cutlery deck, but I don't know. I used about 80% of the same cards that I did for my Max deck, which I think is probably wrong for Edward Kim. I think he needs more of a dedicated breaker suite.
Yes, I think he does.
I think the cutlery may find their way into a Max deck in my what I've called my decked deck for Max, because it's just one of the two people who's going to get decked. But no, the cutlery is so good, and the only issue I had with them when in the game I played them with is, more often than not, I kind of found they were sitting in my hand waiting to be used rather than actually being used. It was finding that right window to actually play knifed.
Yes, I think they work quite well out of something like Quetzal or Kit.
Yeah,
they're going to be more beneficial and less conditional compared to just having to find that perfect run.
Yeah, because I think maybe some kind of maybe even some kind of snitch deck or something like that, where you can expose the ice and then go in with the cutlery to destroy it, could potentially work really well.
That's not a bad idea, actually.
But yeah, I think for everyone, these are the new "oh my god, the game is broken" cards.
Of course they are.
But no, I think the whole needing to get the Corp to res that ice, then also you having the correct cutlery to break through the ice and destroy it, it becomes very, very combo conditional type. I still think they're fantastic, and I'm really going to play a lot more with them, because I think it opens a lot up to running just fewer breakers and just being able to. The thing with my Kentenma deck that I really liked was just constantly running.
Sorry.
I know, I hear it too every time I say the name. But no, because he was just built to run, and so these 3 new run events it's a shame they're 3 influence each, but I'd love to try and fit them in a Kentenma deck and just keep running and keep just destroying the ice as I run. Because again, you could easily run, do the run event, the sabotage with the cutlery to destroy the ice, then doppelganger into a different server to where you actually want to be, or even run to destroy the ice and then just bounce straight back in there. It needs some more work in it, but yeah, the cutlery are brilliant.
Yes, they are, and like you say, I think they are the new. Oh my god, this game is broken, I'm never coming back deck. Because let's be honest, nerds are a melodramatic bunch.
We can't help it.
No, we can't. But it's I don't think because they are so conditional, I think, and the fact that they are 3 influence each, you're not really going to see them much outside of an Anarch deck.
Yeah.
But it's something that now, obviously when you see Wayland, you always have to be aware of Scorch. When you see MBN, you have to be aware of tags. It now means that with Anarch, you have to be quite aware that these cards will probably be in there, and they're going to ruin your ice. Yeah,
I think maybe just having one off each cards is probably a good start, just to kind of draw into them potentially, because I definitely think they're definitely mid to late game cards. After the Corpse res some ice, and then you want to be like, okay, if I can get rid of those 2 cards on their R&D, then I can install this keyhole, or I can get rid of their archives ice if they've iced it up, and just go sneak door into their HQ and stuff like that. I think you want to almost criminal style have the perfect heist, inverted commas, planned, then go get your cutlery and just tamper through the ice until you can get into the server you really want to.
well, that's pretty much the cutlery covered. Wanton Destruction and Day Job, I think, two other events that are interesting. Day Job we've already talked about briefly. Yes. Again, I need to reiterate, it really gives the Corp pause when you see you just gain 10 credits.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I've we had a discussion at one point talking about playing a Day Job and then immediately showing a stim hack from your hand, just to say, this is what's happening next turn, so you deal with it, and just mind gaming them.
Yeah.
So I might have to try that.
And again, Day Job works so well with Joshua B to give yourself that extra click. So all of a sudden you've gained 10, and now you have all of the money to use Crypsis, or you can go and trash their marked accounts or something like that, or trash their pad campaign.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, I have six credits spare after I've spent 4 trashing your pad campaign.
It's just a nice way of saying, oh, look, that's a Sansan. Well, I'm just going to use the cutlery, get in and destroy that Sansan. Done. Moving on.
Yeah, and Wanton Destruction as well. I got a chance to use this a little bit, and yeah, it feels like it might as well just be a priority event, because I never really wanted to play it on anything but my first click. I always wanted to spend my maximum number of clicks in the HQ just trashing everything.
It's an interesting one.
I really like it. I think, especially when, obviously we'll get to Eta in more detail later, but again, as another replacement effect to pressure the Corp. And again, this is because I am not a fan of running the just in case, and I've got more of a feature planned for a later episode on this, but I don't like running Plascretes just in case. But to just go into HQ, because you know Corps will be sitting on their biotic labour, their scorched earth, until they can use them. So if you can get in, Wanton Destruction, and just...
You said it again.
I know, I can't help it. I think it's because of that old joke of... what was it? The Chinese takeaway got robbed. Now it was Wanton Destruction. I can't remember it now. That's terrible. I'm going to cut that. But no, yeah, it's just to be able to go in and say, okay, I probably got rid of the cards that you need, or to get rid of that fast track, or to get rid of even just an agenda from their hand is really good.
Yeah, you're forcing the Corp to trash it, but still, you know, it's still forcing them, especially if you do it with 3 clicks, just to trash the entirety of the hand.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that I realised afterwards is this combos really well with, I'm going to get it wrong, Utopia Shard? The one the Corp discards 2 cards at random from HQ?
Yep.
So you get rid of 3 cards, and then you use the Utopia Shard to get rid of the other 2 cards from their hand. But obviously you'd have to have that on the board already. To go, but it's still again wiping out the Corp's hand is just so powerful, because it kind of gives you as a runner that extra turn of, right, next turn they're going to have to draw into some cards, really.
I keep fully expecting at one point to have an Anarch card that does damage to a Corp, and then, you know, drop and add 0 cards and immediately damage the Corp out of the game. I think that'd just be funny.
Yeah.
Just to I suppose they've already got bad publicity, but I don't think it's as fun as the thought of just at some point causing damage to a Corp, like essentially blowing up the building the servers are in.
Yeah. No, I'd love to see a card like that, just kind of net damage to a Corp.
Yes.
To be honest, if I was lucky enough to win like a championship, it probably would be something like a reverse feed would be like the card, and it would be for every time the Corp tries to do damage to you, you trash this card, and it sends the damage back to them.
Yeah, force them to trash that many cards from HQ.
Yeah.
It's the net shield we all need.
Well, the Santan cycle is going to focus quite a lot more on brain damage and slowing down fast advance. So maybe there could be stuff coming in to reciprocate the damage to the Corp. So
I doubt it.
Who knows?
Anyway, enough of this. Moving on. There are 2 more events. So there is Itinerant Protesters, which is current, which is it's okay. It would be good against the Wayland deck, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't really see it being useful really anywhere else.
Well, this is definitely a Valencia card, and I've not had a chance to play with her yet. I chose Max and Edward as my first 2 to take to the Tuesday night meet. But maybe I'll build a Valencia deck because again, if they start with 1 bad pub, this is also works really well as because let's face it, the runner currents have been pretty weak so far compared to what the Corp's been getting. So not only to reduce the Corp's hand size for 1, 2, maybe even 3 cards, which, I mean, if as Anarchs, we know how it can slow you down when you take some brain damage, and all of a sudden your hand is very limited. So again, slowing that Corp down so they can only have 2 cards in hand, and as well they're mandatory drawing, so it does mean that they'll have to get rid of a card, whether they have to play it or they have to bin it every turn, is potentially quite powerful, but also to counter their currents as well.
Yeah, I suppose that's it. I mean, it's always useful to be able to counter a current.
Yeah. So I think the way I see it, and I don't really see Net Celebrity is the only one I kind of see getting played.
Yeah.
But yeah, runners don't really tend to pack currents. They tend to just kind of deal with the Corp current and hopefully try and score an agenda. But I think this has legs, but it feels like it's definitely at least Valencia, unless you're running another runner who does specialise in bad pub, and it's only 2 influence, so I guess it can go pretty much anywhere.
Yeah. And the other one I quite like is Showing Off, which is essentially the answer to Daily Business Show. Make you run an R&D, accessing cards from the bottom.
And as we know, having run Daily Business Show for quite a while each, we put our agendas to the bottom until we're ready for them.
It's just a nice way of screwing with people.
Yeah.
And it's literally that. It is showing off.
And I think this, in my mind, would replace Demolition Run.
Yes.
I keep trying. I keep trying to run Demo Run. Every time I build a trashy deck, it had Demo Run can go into this deck, but again, it's that 46th card. It's the one that never quite makes the cut. Or if it goes in, the medium's never really there to use it, and I never really want to use it on HQ because I don't really often run Nerve Agent. But with Demo Run, you want to see the cards, then you've got to run again to use Demo Run to trash them, and then you might want to run again to see the fresh cards, or at the very least kind of run and do the trash on the second run. But at least with Showing Off, it would be, okay, I've seen 6 cards from the top of your deck, and quite frequently, and it's probably just my bad luck, I can do a 6-card medium dig and see nothing but operations. And then to go, okay, I'll check the bottom of your deck and see if there's anything good down there. I think this is probably, at least for me, a card I would definitely run over Demolition Run.
Yes,
just that being able
certainly
to see a second set of cards.
Or even alongside it, really. It's mainly, in my mind, it's just there to show off. It's like, okay, well, you've been doing this, so I guess I'll just take the risk that everything you've got on the bottom, it's probably just going to be agendas.
But no, as the thing is, I'm seeing a lot of Daily Business Show outside of NBN. It's becoming the new Sansan. Like the motto on Tuesday nights is trash the business show. If someone reses a Daily Business Show, you have to trash it because it's so good. It is such a fantastic card.
It's insanely powerful.
It's one influencer. It does get everywhere, and I'm seeing. I don't think I've really seen Agent Techies running it, but definitely in Wayland and HB, a lot of the time I'm seeing a Daily Business Show splash in that deck.
Yes.
So I think, Showing Off is perfect, and I definitely want to build something with Showing Off just to be able to constantly dig at the top and the bottom, and the dream is to hopefully meet in the middle at one point and say you've seen everything.
I'm just trying to think what that'd be called. Seriously, you can't stop me. Something like that. So I think. Do you want to talk about the last couple?
Of events?
Yes.
I think we've covered everything, haven't we? There's just Amped Up, which I already mentioned at the top of the show, and is fantastic. Because again, it's still in my in a newbie, the whole taking brain damage is bad, and it's something you don't want to do. But to suddenly gain 3 extra clicks, and again, if you have Joshua B out, I actually had to get tokens out on the table to work out how many power counters, just to work out how many clicks I had. Well, I've got one from Joshua B, but then I ran, and I installed the DLR, and then I've added used this, but then it gave me 3 back, and I don't have enough fingers to work out that many clicks.
It's an interesting one. I think it does feed into that whole just run. What's a little bit of brain damage between friends?
And as well, it combos, as pretty much everything does, because it's on your favorite card. It combos really well with Day Job,
of course,
because all of a sudden, you've got 10 credits and 2 clicks left. It's like, now what am I going to do with all this money? I know, I'll destroy everything. And as well, it combos really well with Wanton Destruction. But the only downside to this, obviously the brain damage, I don't mind. It's the ping of the brain damage that can potentially screw you over when they pull that one card you really wanted to combo it without.
And you know that if you do, say you've run amped up a second time, you'd go in for Wanton Destruction, you know you're going to hit a snare around there.
Yeah.
And it's just going to ruin your day. But it would be a glorious way to go.
Yes, it would be fantastic. But maybe I've had worse in hand still to absorb some of that damage, or who knows. But no, I think amped up is great. I think this is really interesting as well. They've kind of given Anarch a couple more kind of brain damagey cards right before Sansan, which is going to be quite brain damage focused, I think.
Yes.
At least the HB stuff in there anyway. So yeah, that's really interesting. And again, I played 2 amped up in a game with Max. Being on 3 cards in hand really wasn't terrible. It was because with Max, because you're trashing everything, you've probably got a little bit of recursion left somewhere. I think 3 cards in hand is fine. I don't know if I'd have amped up a third time and gone down to 2 cards.
Well, the temptation's there if you're in the last part of the game, just keep going.
Yeah. Although I did almost amped up with my levy and no more recursion in hand, which I realised my luck is just bad enough that the amped up damage is gonna take out my levy. So let's just levy, and then I'll use amped up next turn when it's safe and I have a deck of cards again. But no, yeah, again, just it's that surprise, and I think Anarchs have really got that now with this deck. It's that more kind of surprise. Now I have all these clicks and credits. It doesn't matter what you did. Now I have so much more resources now that I can spend on my turn and extend my turn as well. Just because I was always a big fan of my first really good deck I built was kind of a noise Joshua B DLR deck, and it's great. I loved that one extra click a turn. And for some reason, Corps are very reluctant to trash Joshua B. I think it's the whole, what's one extra click a turn for them? I don't really want to spend a click and 2 credits. I think
that might be it. Just that kind of putting them off from doing it. But then that'll tie in quite nicely with one of the cards from the Sansan cycle that I'm going to spoil because it's funny. So this is spoilers for the next second because I'm going to talk about it. But Beach Party.
Oh, yes!
Which is just the funniest card in the world. It's like, lose a click, but your hand size is increased by 5. It's like, well, okay then. Do that with Joshua B, and then you can just spend, that click that you gain to just clear tags. Or something like that. It doesn't really matter at that point.
Or Duggars.
Yes, or Duggars.
That would be the greatest day. You have a beach party, and then you go to Duggars in the evening, and
and then you meet Joshua B, who unfortunately gives away your location the following day.
But it's okay because you went back to the beach for day 2 party.
For day 2, and maybe going back to Duggars. Who knows?
I think there is a possibility to make Spring Break the deck.
I think I might have to try that when Sansan comes out.
Just all the partying. Duggars, Wildside, Beach Party.
Deck that doesn't work. Oh man, if I could ever get that to work.
Should I have a look at the hardware?
Yeah, can do. Let's go on to that. So,
I didn't use any of this because I was keeping my my Max deck as tight on events and stuff, but I really, really did want to run Vigil.
Yep, it is a good one. I'm trying to think of places it would be useful in decks that I've run previously, and I think I'm going to have to work around it. I mean, I really wouldn't want to put it with Max.
Yeah, especially if you're using Wanton Destruction as well, trashing all their HQ.
Yes.
But again, it's that extra card draw for Anarch that we've been desperate for so long. And yeah, the majority of the time, the Corp will this either Corp gives you a free draw every turn, or the Corp deliberately tries to Vigil block you. Because I've been in situations where the runners know and I have a sweep tweak in hand, and they've deliberately kept their hand size low or stuff like that. So to be able to kind of go, would you kind of keep them at a lower hand size, kind of. Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's like whenever I see a runner with Astrolab, all of a sudden it's like, do I need to make a new server? Am I going to give them a card they really need, or am I just going to give them junk? But my brain is always like, it's going to be the card they need for next turn, and you've given it to them for free. So yeah, I like I like this kind of psychological torment aspect of what are you going to do now you've seen this card on the board.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I'll have to see if I can figure out a use for it. I can't think where I'm going to put it, like I said, but I'm sure it'll come into use. I want to talk about Archive Interface because
oh god, yes,
it's a hell of a thing. It essentially, when you access cards in Archives, remove one card in the Archives from the game instead of accessing it, which is phenomenal against something like Jinteki, for example.
So all of a sudden those Shikyus and Shocks are out of there.
Yep, and there's nothing you can do about it.
I see this as another great card to use against Jackson Howard, because the number of times, and myself included as a corporation, you kind of think, it's okay, there's one Jackson in the trash, I've got another one on the board, or I can draw into another one and then get that Jackson back in the 3 that I put back in the deck. To all of a sudden be like, actually no, that we've retired Jackson, he's moved away from the Archives.
Can you not Jackson him back before the access?
You would, but only if you had a Jackson on the board.
Yeah, I suppose.
But yeah, if you're accessing Archives before they get another Jackson out, then you can get rid of him.
Ruins their day. Yeah. Also, sorry, got a bit of a lisp there. Also, just ruining things from HB. So, for example, just their archive memories is absolutely nothing. Means nothing. That's HP Fast Advance just done. If you can stop them getting access to, anything really.
Yeah. I mean, I see this working quite well with Noise because of the random mills. You're kind of disrupting the Corp there, and then you kind of nip into Archives. You don't need to worry too much about accessing because you can then go, okay, right, I'm going to get rid of that card. But the only downside, I guess, to this is you have to have accessed Archive to see everything. Because you can't remove a card that's face down in Archives.
But it'll tag in quite well with something like Hades Shard, for example. I mean,
actually.
What I'd quite like to do is, say you're running against someone who has, what's the new Wayland? Government Takeover has a couple of those. Just remove them from the game and then just say, okay, I'm just going to wait until you run out of cards. Because there'll be nothing they can do if you just remove the agendas from the game.
Yeah, Now that would be a really interesting deck, the complete agenda denial deck. Where you don't even want to score them, you just want to make it so the Corp doesn't have enough points to win.
I mean, obviously, if you're accessing, you're probably best to just take them anyway. But
that's true. But I guess any that have
say you're drawn on points. I don't know.
I guess the only ones you could get rid of are ones that have additional costs like NAPD or Fetal.
Yes.
Because otherwise you have to steal an agenda, don't you? So.
Yes, I think if you access it, you have to steal it.
Yeah.
Interesting, anyway.
Yeah.
And then mem strips, which is good, which is just a bunch of memory just for use on virus. So of course, Noise loves this. Don't think we need to say anything more.
And as well, it's not unique. It's plus 3. It's plus 3 MU. I hear Overmind likes this quite well.
Yes, it does.
All of a sudden, you run 3 of these, a deep red. That's another 12 memory to put on that Overmind.
It's yes. I can't think of a. If you can get that situation off, I can't think of a Corp in the world that would survive.
Yeah, no, I've only just thought of that. Looking at the card, thinking. What could use 3 memory besides viruses? Oh my god, Overmind.
Yeah.
It's time to bring it back. No, I think this is great.
Well. Is it Eco Mind?
Yeah,
Origami as well.
Origami is for I can't remember now. Eco Mind is your hand size is equal to the number of unused memory, I think.
Yes.
So yeah. And then Origami increases memory, per Origami.
Yes. Just keep stacking them. All their Mew.
But no, and as well as a long-time Noise player, there's never enough space for all the viruses you want to run.
Nope.
And I'm not a massive fan of Jin. I I always feel that including Djinns in my deck means I can't include more of just the viruses I want, so even more MU for viruses is perfect, especially because I run Darwin's as my primary and sometimes only breaker, which is itself a virus, which means that really I could use a lot of... I could probably put Overmind in there as well as a backup. Yeah, I like Memstrips a lot, I think.
Yep.
There are so many viruses in the game that this card is just... If you're running a virusy deck, then this is kind of goes without saying it needs to be in there.
Yeah, definitely. And Chopbot 3000, which is just fun to say. Also, terrifying card. Just looking at the art on it, it's horrible scarab beetle awfulness that just allows you to trash another one of your installed cards, and you can draw a card and remove a tag. And I just want to point out the flavor text on it, which was, "There was a sickly smell coming from his closet. He hoped it was only a mouse this time," which is just horrific. But yeah, I like this card. I think it would just be funny, especially if you've got, you know, imps on the table or things that are just going to go soon and you don't mind recurring them back. Just having a chop bot installed, hanging around, just allows
maybe it's a one-off to the noise Aesop's pawn shop type deck.
Yeah, of course. It means that you, as far as I'm concerned, you don't have to run Aesops. I know Aesops gives you money, but this will allow you to draw cards and remove tags. And I think at times, definitely with the noise decks I've built, that is almost more useful. Especially if you're floating a lot of tags.
I was going to say, especially if you've got a count siphon in there for your influence instead of Aesops.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's that then.
What about our lovely programs that we've got in this side of the
all four
big
of
box?
them.
All four.
Just talk about Eater for 20 minutes. Go on. I know you want to.
Okay. Eater is brilliant. I've wanted to put this in the deck since I saw it spoiled. Because I just love it. The art freaks me out just the right amount. That kind of crooked, multi-layered teeth mouth of it. But the one thing
like
I really
want
want
to talk
without
about health insurance.
It is actually, yeah. It's just looking at it now, it kind of looks like it should be on the front cover of a Stephen King novel. But yeah, it's 4 credits to install it, 1 MU, 2 strength, 1 to break a nice subroutine, 1 credit to break a nice subroutine, 1 credit to give it 1 strength. But if you use it to break any subroutines, you can't access more than 0 cards, which is important because it means you can use replacement effects, such as instead of accessing cards, siphon them with a count siphon, or instead of accessing cards, index them with indexing. So and in fact, there is a surprising number of replacement effects cards, such as Bank Job, that you can actually honestly build a good deck around completely just replacement effects in the game. Keyhole, again, works fantastically with this card. Mm-hmm. But the one thing that I was going to talk about with regards to Eater was everyone was like, "Oh my god, we can't use Eater because Swordsman." And it's like...
Who runs Swordsman? Seriously?
I'll tell you something. A couple of people... at my Tuesday night group after Order and Chaos because of Eater. That's who runs Swordsman.
I mean, I get so annoyed by people who are like, that's like, yeah, but Swordsman exists. Like, yeah, but no one's running Swordsman yet, and probably no one's going to be able to find room for a Swordsman.
Yeah.
And admittedly, this is just my meta and your meta, and obviously some people might be running Swordsman.
It's still a good card, but the one weakness to Swordsman is, and I found this because I ran into it using Eater. My Eater got trashed. That's alright, I'll just take 1 net damage and access that card then. And then I drew up, and it's like, okay, I'll take 1 net damage and access a card, please. Because they put it over HQ, and it's like, I honestly don't care if I'm taking net damage. I'm max. I'm taking net damage everywhere. I'm taking damage everywhere, so... I just kept walking through the Eater, taking the occasional net damage. My Keyhole survived because it's just a program. So even though their Swordsman was rezzed, I just kept keyholing them. It's like, well, you rezzed a Swordsman, you killed my Eater. It just meant for the rest of the game I didn't install any other Eaters because that was my only icebreaker. I was like, well, I just don't install Eaters now because you have a Swordsman. I'll take some net damage here and there, and I'll just keep running.
Yep.
And this is definitely a feature for another time, but yeah, it does bug me the whole, oh, you can't, that card is rubbish because this other card exists. It's like, we've
talked about this a lot, the idea of tier 1 decks and all that bollocks goes along with it. Anyway,
that's an hour rant waiting to happen, but
yes.
the moral of the story is, I ran into a swordsman with Eater. I survived. Eater was trashed. And I ended up winning the game because I decked the Corp using Keyhole. If that happens, you deal with it. These clashing programs like this or clashing cards will always exist. You can't worry about it. You have to. Okay, like if I'd have been, oh no, what if this deck is running Swordsman? I better not install this Eater. It's like, well, I'll install it. I'll use it as much as I can. And then after Eater gets trashed, I have enough recursion to bring it back and run somewhere else. If there's another swordsman, it gets trashed again. Big deal. As long as it's not causing me to lose important cards, which the one net damage might do. But it's other than that, it's a swordsman. If it was an end the run type ice,
yes,
I'd be more worried. But you lose Eater and take a net damage. In the grand scheme of things, that's not terrible. And it's cost 3 for the Corp to res. I think swordsman is. So it's I don't think there's that much to worry about, but I do think Eater is a great card. I think it could potentially be better with using it with Retrieval Run to get out actual good high strength breakers. I don't know. I love it, and I like having it as my only kind of icebreaker in the game, but it does put a lot of pressure on me. Like I said to you, it's like there was an Enigma keeping me out of archives, and I could have won the game, but if I'd have eaten my way through the Enigma, I couldn't access any cards. So it was like, well, now I can't get in, now I can't win the game. I'll just deck the Corp. So yeah, I think maybe some support breakers need to be in there along with Eater, but it's still a great card. I love it. I don't think it's going to come out of my Anarch decks anytime soon.
Right then. Next one, 2 cards that pretty much go together are Progenitor and Hive Mind. Yes. Progenitor, hosting single virus program, blah 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 blah. Most important thing, whenever virus counters are purged, remove all but 1 virus counter from the hosted card. Very good card, especially if you're running virus deck. Works exceptionally well with Hive Mind, which virus counts on Hive Mind are considered to be hosted on all other virus programs for the purposes of card effects and can be spent as if on them. Yes. So, all of a sudden, that medium run is looking phenomenal.
Yeah, and as well, like you can, if you have 2 mediums out, all of a sudden it's twice as good.
It is. It is.
But yeah, the 2 MU is a bit of a drawback to Hive Mind. But you put it on the Progenitor, it's 0 MU. If you've got mem strips out, then you've got at least 1 MU spare from the mem strips. So there's ways around the 2 MU cost, and Hive Mind can also be tutored with Jin because it's a virus. The only downside is you really would want to draw into Progenitor first, and would probably not want to install a Hive Mind if you drew it without having Progenitor on the table. Is at least my feeling to it anyway.
I have seen a layout for a deck that uses this kind of combination to access the entire deck of someone on the table. I will be putting it together at some point. We can see what happens with that, but it's a nice little janky jank deck, which you know that I love. So I'm probably going to put it together and run against you and see what happens.
Oh, I look forward to it.
But we'll see. But we'll save that for another time.
It's cool. I'll just put loads of Cyberdex virus suites in my deck, so you just keep accessing them.
All right then.
You'll lose all of those virus counters.
Well, yes, could do. Right. Anything else? Gravedigger?
Yeah. I've not had a chance to use this card yet. Another virus, so I guess it's another good one for noise.
That's what everyone says.
That's what everyone says. He's the virus guy. Whenever an installed Corp card is trashed, place 1 virus counter on Gravedigger. The interesting thing about this, and something I'd not realised, is that if the Corp has, say, an Adonis in a server, and they install over that Adonis, that counts as being trashed. So you'd get a virus counter from the Corp's action.
Does it not count
and then it's
when it runs out of money as well?
I think it would actually. Yeah, it's not saying when the Corp trashes a card. Yeah, so
even when an card is trashed.
So yeah, when an Adonis runs out or anything like that, then
keep trashing them cards.
Again, works really well with any good deck built around trashing stuff, and it's a click and a hosted virus counter. The Corp trashes the top card of R&D. So again, if if you want to keep kind of an R&D lock, or if you just saw they've got a very handy-dandy operation, say, I don't know, Scorched Earth at the very top of R&D, then a quick click and it's gone into archives. And then you run archives with your archives interface and remove it from the game. So yeah, there is always that. I'd be interested to kind of try and put it in a deck, maybe with Hemorrhage as well. It might be quite an interesting combination, because then you can accumulate your counters from Hemorrhage to trash cards from the Corp's HQ, and then when any other cards get trashed on the board, you can start using Gravedigger to trash the R&D ones. So yeah, it could be quite a nice combo there to keep kind of denying them their hand size, and then deny them drawing into anything good as well.
I'll have to look more into this, obviously. Right then, let's keep rolling through.
Yes, in our reviews. Well, I guess initial impressions.
Yes.
On to the resources.
So, investigative journalism seems wrong. Spending 4 clicks and trashing to give the Corp another bad publicity, because you can only use it if they have at least one bad publicity.
Again, this is definitely primed more for a Valencia deck, where they already start with one bad pub.
It's just so bizarre. Like, I mean, bad publicity is good, don't get me wrong. It just seems insane to have this level of bad, like, to be spending 4 clicks to just be giving someone else it. It just seems silly to me.
Yeah, 'cause there really aren't that many cards that give bad pub. There's this Frame Job, Valencia herself, and
I mean, I suppose you could use it in time with blackmail. Like, if you really need to get off a blackmail the next turn. I don't know. It's strange. It's a strange one.
Yeah, I think the fact it's an entire turn to give a bad publicity, but then, if you think about it, it is going to be an extra credit per run for the rest of your game.
Well, until they get rid of the bad pub.
Or until they get rid of the bad pub, yeah. I like the idea. I'll probably try and put it in a Valencia deck and play around with it that way. Yeah,
I think that's all we can say.
Again, it's quite a nice resource threat just to have it on the board, and all of a sudden the Corp thinks, right, I'm going up to 2 bad pub. And I guess if you're running other stuff that works with spending money during a run, like how kind of Nasir operates, so he doesn't completely lose all his money without having spent it. So, like with Personal Workshop or clone chips and self-modifying codes, you can use that bad publicity money to spend on those actions as well. So, I mean, it has uses other than just kind of using spending credits on icebreakers. So there may be something there as well. But yeah, I'm kind of on your side with this card. It looks like it's good, but a whole turn for a bad pub. I think once we've used it, we might
maybe we'll change our mind.
Yeah.
Compare it to another resource which I absolutely adore, which is Sacrificial Clone.
I love the flavour of this.
Yeah, it's not just funny in the flavour. It's not just challenging philosophically. It's also a really good card.
Yeah.
So, trash the card, prevent all damage, trash all installed hardware, all installed non-virtual resources, and all cards in your grip. Lose all credits, remove all tags. It's literally resetting your game. So that gets rid of the lovely Scorch issue. So I would be tempted to be taking these instead of Plascretes, just because it'd be funny. You know, you'd have to start again pretty much, but it would be funny.
It would. And I like, it's interesting as well, you get to keep your virtual resources.
Yeah, which is kind of odd, but
then if they've got Foxfire...
Who runs Foxfire? Again, it's like the swordsman argument all over again.
Yeah. Oh, you can't worry what if they're running a card.
Yes.
Just build your deck and enjoy it.
I mean, you'd be able to keep your DLR, so it might be one
true,
for Max, if you want to take it to a tournament level.
Yeah, potentially.
Although you wouldn't be tagged afterwards, so... Well.
I do like the idea of that all of a sudden that Seasource Scorch play is kind of just giving you the tag with Seasource, and then kind of
wasting their time.
Do I just trash their Sacrificial Clone? Or now that they're tagged? Or do I just try and Scorch them and then they just prevent it and then lose everything?
Yeah. I would probably go with the scorch them and make them lose everything, depending on how later on in the game you are.
Yeah.
But yes, the flavour is just adorable. Don't worry me, you won't have to vertical park.
I just love the whole flavour of it, kind of being just faking your death.
Yep.
And I as well, I love the fact that Shapers get Sacrificial Construct, which protects their hardware, and Anarchs get Sacrificial Clone, which trashes everything of theirs, but keeps them alive.
Yeah, and I think that's all it needs. I just keep, every time I see it, I just keep picturing it with Max, just carving the brain damage out. It's like, well, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get more clicks using
More amped up,
and then just prevent that damage. And then lose
you
everything.
Wouldn't be able to, unfortunately. With the amped up, the brain damage has to be taken to get the extra clicks.
Oh, it can. Yeah, of course, it cannot be prevented.
Yeah, unfortunately. This is definitely more of a prevent damage from the Corp doing the damage to you.
Yeah.
But again, it's more tools for the runner not to be taken out by just scorched earth policy type decks, or even you run into a Kamainu. It's like, do I lose my hand, or do I lose everything but my hand? Oh no, you would no. Sorry,
you lose your hand as well. Do I lose everything, or do I lose my hand?
Probably just lose your hand in that case.
I just lose my hand and jack out. It'd probably be fine.
Virus Breeding Ground next. I quite like this card, and I think it might actually replace Cyber Feeder in my really virus heavy noise deck.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I like Cyber Feeder, but it's always that card of, well, especially because I usually run a very poor noise, but now this day job, it might change. But it's always like, oh, I don't want to spend 2 credits to get 1 credit back later. And then obviously the credits will keep stacking turn on turn. And, Cyber Feeder is good for increasing the strength of Darwin, but now that I have Incubator and Hive Mind, and all of a sudden Darwin can be super powerful straight away, it's like, maybe I just spend time using Virus Breeding Ground, especially if you're doing things like Day Job, where you're wasting an entire turn gaining 8 credits. Virus Breeding Ground ticks up, Incubator ticks up, Parasites tick up. Everything's kind of gaining these virus counters all at once. And then just for a single click, you can just move that 1 virus counter, probably onto Hive Mind, I guess. And then everything becomes more powerful. Yeah, and again, they're not unique, so you could have 3 of these out. And I do run 3 Festas as well, which makes the Corp at least take another second to think about purging. But no, I am more interested to try this out, and I think it could potentially replace that 1 extra credit, because I don't find with Darwin. Well, again, this all stems from being very poor as noise the majority of the time. That I'm never really spending that much money to. Or even using the Cyber Feeder credit to use it on Darwin to break subroutines, because again, Darwin needs 2 credits per subroutine anyway. So I think, maybe that just increased threat of more and more virus counters coming into the game could potentially be good. And again, maybe the Corp will just keep spending more and more of their turns and more their credits with Fester out purging. But then they've purged, you have 3 Virus Breeding Grounds out, the next turn you suddenly have 3 more virus counters on Virus Breeding Ground. Hive Mind still has 1 credit on it because you've put it on a Progenitor. Incubator again ticks up to 1, again you have 3 Incubators out, so you can potentially, the Corp could purge, lose 6 credits in a turn, then at the start of your next turn you get at least 6 virus counters back into the game. I love that idea of just like you've clicked on that risky email link, and those viruses just you can't clean your systems fast enough because the viruses are just coming back. But no, yeah, this is definitely one of the cards I think I'm going to be putting into noise and taking out kind of existing cards for. I really like the idea of this card, and it's another virtual resource. So if I did use a sacrificial clone, at least my Virus Breeding Ground would survive.
Oh my god, it's terrible. What else? What's next? Where am I?
We have Human First and Stim Dealer, our last 2 Anarch resources.
Yes, so Human First I quite like. It looks it's more funny even when you consider something like Government Takeover. Which is whenever an agenda is scored or stolen, gain credits equal to the agenda points on that agenda.
So all of a
It's just
sudden you get 6 credits for a government takeover being scored.
It's just a nice little boost.
Yeah.
I don't really have much more else to say about that.
Yeah, it's another one of those cards that you... I don't know. I think this kind of falls into the same category as the kind of logos did for me originally. It's like, oh, well, agendas aren't going to get scored. You maybe got 2-3 windows to use a logos in a game, and you'll probably have 2-3 windows to use human first.
Mm-hmm.
But when you really consider what that can mean, so all of a sudden, like logos, you can fish out whatever you need, and you get maybe 2 or 3 chances to do that. With human first, you all of a sudden maybe get 2 to 3 credits, and it's like, right, now I can use those 2 credits to, I don't know, maybe use them on my next run, which scores me an agenda. So it could just be that extra little bit of money that you need. It's just, I really wish this wasn't a unique one, though. I think this would be, maybe it's just me, but I think having 3 of these out might just be more of a deterrent for the Corp to score.
Yeah.
It's like, do I really want to give them 6 to 9 credits if I score this agenda rather than... Because I think the majority of Corps would be like, to be honest, I'll have 3 agenda points, they can have 3 credits.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. And then there's Stim Dealer, which is an interesting card, which I think should just be renamed Don't Do Drugs, Kids. And it's a bit complex, so we're going to have to read through the text, as I have been doing. So, with Stim Dealer, when your turn begins, if there are 2 or more power counters on Stim Dealer, remove all power counters from it and suffer 1 brain damage, which cannot be prevented. Otherwise, place a power counter on Stim Dealer and gain a click. So yeah,
so you get 2 turns of getting extra clicks, but then on the 3rd turn, you suffer brain damage.
Take a brain damage. And then you get another 2 turns of extra clicks, and then you suffer another brain damage. Now this is it's an interesting one. I'm trying to think of a place where it'd be useful. The only thing I could think of is Max. Just because you're going through the game so quickly, the brain damage isn't really an issue. But like you say, because you're using amped up, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I guess you'd remove amped up for Stim Dealer for a more consistent extra click, but then I guess you have Joshua B, but then you're being tagged.
Brain damage.
Yeah, but the one thing I thought about for this deck is the janky Eco-Mind Origami deck that we tried to put together a little while ago, where you have a massive, massive hand size, or maybe even with something like Theophilus Bagbiter as well, where your hand size is just ridiculous, where you could have maybe 20 cards in your hand. So suffering a brain damage doesn't really mean that much for getting 2 consecutive turns of 5 clicks. So maybe there's something in there with the massive hand size decks, the kind of...
Maybe.
That kind of thing, but I don't know. Again, this is another card that I think I need to see in someone who knows more about Netrunner's deck than me to really appreciate it. It's like I didn't appreciate Diversified Portfolio until you scored like 17 credits off it, and all of a sudden it's okay.
And it's just a deck that you have to build stuff around, I think.
Yeah.
Right, well, where are we up to now? We're just up to the final things? Do you want to do neutral cards, or...?
Yeah, we'll cover the neutral ones.
Let's just cover all of the things. Right, uninstall. Don't see the point of it.
Really?
I will just install over something else. I really don't see the point. The only thing I can think of is getting it back into your hand. Really doesn't seem that much to me with Anarch, who recur at the arse.
2 ways I see this working really well. The first is with a Hive Mind. So if you've got a Hive Mind out and you don't have Progenitor out, you'd install the Progenitor, pull back the Hive Mind, then install it back onto the Progenitor, and that way it doesn't disrupt you too much. Except you'd kind of lose all the virus counters on Hive Mind. Bit of a downside. The other one, and I think this kind of goes with the image, I didn't realise this until someone told me, but the image on uninstall is Imp. So you spent your 2 to 3 virus counters on Imp, trashing stuff. If you're not really running a selling type deck, you could use uninstall, pull the Imp back, install it again. It's got a fresh 2 or 3 counters on it, and then you can go off and trash some more stuff. So if you're kind of running a little bit low on recursion, then maybe there's or more kind of the selling it to Aesops, I imagine. Then uninstall, I imagine, would work better. But it's only for cards that have an effect on the board. So unless the card did something to the Corp when you installed it, it has to be a program anyway, and a programmable piece of hardware. Unless it's doing something to the Corp on installation, or you're pulling it back to put it out again to refresh it, kind of like the dogs, I imagine.
Yeah.
Because the dogs with scavenge is fantastic because you can scavenge a dog for the same dog, and it's got its virus count, it's got its power counters back on it. So
I suppose it just seems a bit over. We're talking about a faction, the Anarch faction mainly, that has so much recursion, it's ridiculous.
And a faction as well that is probably the happiest with its things getting trashed and no way to recur it at times.
Yeah.
So yeah, I probably see this more in other factions, maybe.
Yeah.
But I guess it is a neutral card after all.
Quanju or Quanju, or however you pronounce it, which is
Qianju PT?
I don't know. Which I think is just a motorcycle.
I think it's our first vehicle in the game as well.
I think it is. When your turn begins, you may lose a click. If you do, avoid the first tag you take until the beginning of your next turn. So if you know you're going to be account siphoning or having issues with clicks, I think it works reasonably well with the criminal. What's the thing? John Masanori. Combo.
For failing a
for
successful
failing
run tag, yeah.
Yes, but you losing a click to avoid the first tag you take, it's just preemptively clearing that tag, isn't it? So, I don't know.
To be honest, it's the only card I'd like to combo this with in a ridiculous way is Joshua B. But then you net 0 clicks, really, don't you?
There's nothing to it.
You don't take the tag.
There's no point in Joshua B at that point. And then data folding, which is really good if you have mem strips.
Yes.
When your turn begins, game 1 if you have 2 or more unused MU. So it is essentially a Underworld Contacts.
Yep. It's also not unique, so you can have 3 of them out at once and gain 3 credits at the start of your turn. And if you're running a Sage deck and you want unused MU...
This is true. This is very true.
But the only downside to me for this is it's a 3-cost installation card as well, and I don't want to be one of those people that harps about efficiency because I hate those people at times. But
you have to have a bit of an efficiency buzz if you're going to be taking these things to a high level.
3 to then get 1 credit back over 4 turns before it starts making profit. I like it, and I think early game this can be really cool, and especially if you're running a deck where you want unused MU because you're running Sage or Overmind or something like that. Potentially really good. Until the Corp cards come out where they punish you for having unused MU. Because that's going to be a thing soon. And then suddenly having 3 mem strips and a deep red out for your Overmind is very painful as you take 12 net damage.
Well, yeah. We'll see, I guess.
Yeah. Do you want to very, very quickly touch on the runners in ways that we've kind of not... I know we've talked about them a bit with regards to the cards, but is there anything else you want to say about Valencia, Max, or Edward?
I don't know. I don't know enough about running them yet. We'll have to see. I like Edward because it's really just screwing Wayland. I like Valencia because it's going to feed into either an incredibly janky deck or just quite a nice... It's a solid identity. Yeah. I think that the issue with Anarch is that the only solid identity they have is noise. And I think Valencia, it's, you start that game with 1 bad pub, that's it, carry on. And I can only see bad pub becoming more and more useful as we go forward.
Yeah. And the spin cycle kind of gave a few tools for it as well. So.
Yeah. And then there's Max, who's just bananas. But until I play more, I don't really have any more comments.
Yeah. Like I say, I think Edward with Eater is probably not a great idea since you want to be accessing the cards to be able to trash it because it's an operation. So yeah, I think Edward really needs more of a conventional breaker suite compared to what I ran him as.
Yes.
Again, I think he could be really good. And again, it's that extra bit of disruption, maybe with Scrubber in there as well to help trash assets. So then he's basically got the power of a wizard, but with also trashing the operations as well. So there's maybe something there for Edward Kim. That's my thoughts. Again, I think he's really good, but I didn't run him very well, so currently my experience is a bit jaded. Valencia, I do want to run. I think the bad pub is going to be really good against quite a lot of decks because, again, that 1 extra credit per run, it means that money's going to be less of an issue for her. in a way, and it's going to mean the Corps are really going to have to ice up things to make it inefficient for you to use that credit. Because I know the number of times I've taken bad publicity. I was running a Blue Sun deck the other week, which had 2 Grims and 3 hostile takeovers in it. I was like, 5 bad pub. I don't mind. But then when you suddenly realise that actually sitting with 2 to 3 bad pub is actually quite bad, especially when you think, okay, so now I've made it so it only costs 2 credits for them to use their corroder to get through this hive or something like that. It suddenly becomes, okay, right, bad pub can be quite bad for the Corp.
Yes.
And Max is brilliant. It's so disheartening to see both of your account siphons hit the trash in the same turn, but you draw into Deja Vu and you can bring one of them back. It's not too bad. Yeah, the crazy danger is just that all your recursion, and I assume you're running Levy with her as well, is trashed. That's the only potential danger. And I did actually win a game against someone was playing Max against me, and I'd scored a private security force with our crazy dangerous near Earth hub dedicated response team deck. I had a private security force scored. They'd run through a data raven earlier, taken a tag which they'd cleared at the end of their turn. I pinged them with the data raven tag that was sitting on it. Clicked 3 times on private security force, and they were maybe 3 cards away from burning out their max deck. And I pinged their Levy with the meat damage, and that they kept going, but they just had no more cards to draw. They lost all their recursion. They lost their Levy. They spent maybe 2 or 3 more turns. They were going to concede. I was like, come on, let's play this out. You could still bring it back, but they had for maybe 3 more turns just a single card in hand. And I kept pointing out, if you run with a tag, you're just going to die because of dedicated response team.
Yeah.
And if you take a tag, I'm going to kill you with private security force. So yeah, it's a real balls to the wall deck. If you lose that recursion, if you lose the Levy, it's a very much a hard game over for Max. But the card draw more than makes up for that. Like I said, for an entire game sat with 2 I've had worse in hand, because I didn't need to use them, because I was drawing that extra card every turn. I was playing enough cards to keep going. I really didn't need any card draw, which is crazy good. I think Max is ridiculously good, and probably my favourite new runner, and could potentially be like my now go-to runner whenever I want to build a crazy deck. But like I say, the only downside is you do lose 2 cards a turn, and it really does kind of limit what you can do. But especially you have to kind of run enough recursion to keep going, and I've got retrieval runs in there as well just to bring stuff back. But again, if you're needing to retrieval run and the Corp has well iced up their archives, it could be quite tricky. But yeah, Max is great. We'll play the others more.
Yeah, I think this has been one of the longest episodes we've done.
So much for that half-an-hour limit we imposed on ourselves.
It's a special occasion. It's
a special occasion, and we're both Anarch, diehard anarchists, so I think this was to be expected.
So I think that's it. I just want to say thank you very much for all the wonderful feedback we've been getting about the podcast.
Yes,
and I think we can safely say this might be the most successful thing we've ever done together.
Because the Netrunner community is lovely and enjoys hearing our voices enough to give us lovely words and subscribing to our podcast.
Yes, so if you want to ask us a question or send us some horribly janky decks, or even just tell us to shut up, that's fine. Send an email to us at, what's the email address?
It's nerdrunnerspodcast@gmail.com.
I'm glad one of us is professional.
It's only because I got it wrong last week. I now have to get it right every week. And yeah, I'm on Twitter at MarcusFriend.
And I'm still on Twitter at House of Moose.
Yeah, so there are many ways to get in contact with us. New episodes go up on Reddit, also be on our site. Yep, feel free to get in contact, and we hope you enjoy the show. We'll cover Wayland in next episode, so in about 2 to 3 weeks we'll post that next one. And
hooray.
Hopefully by then we'll have played incredibly janky decks like the one I really want to build, that is Argus Psychographics Government Takeover. because I really, really
that
want
just
to...
sounds awful.
Yeah, I really want to play that deck, and I know it's terrible, and I know, knowing my luck, if I leave Archives R&D unprotected for the first turn, Government Takeover is going to be on the top of that deck, and they're going to be on 6 points straight away. But hopefully I'd have a punitive in hand.
And I'm going to build a Rocketman deck with all of Space Flies. But that's for next time.
That's next time.
Thank you very much for listening. Say goodbye, Mark.
Goodbye, Mark.
Goodbye, guys.
I tried it with Dracos, and it's a good way of keeping people out for like a couple of turns. And really funny when they're using Cloak and Dagger and have to spend 2 stealth credits to get through a Strength 1 Draco. Which is the highlight of my game.
Just upsetting.
So no, that was really funny.